The Outsider. Maya Chen watched through the viewport as her transport shuttle approached Nexus Station, the gleaming jewel of the Galactic Confederation's shipbuilding program. The massive structure resembled a 12-pointed star, each arm housing specialized construction bays where ships from dozens of species were designed and built. After 3 decades of humanity's membership in the Confederation, Maya was the first human engineer assigned to the station's elite advanced propulsion division. The transport docked with a gentle shudder. Maya gathered her few belongings and straightened her Earth Union insignia. Her groundbreaking theories on quantum flow dynamics had earned her this position, though she suspected the assignment was more political than meritocratic, a token gesture to include the primitive newcomers in the Confederation's prestigious programs. Engineer Chen, welcome to Nexus Station. A tall, slender alien with silver-blue skin and 4 arms waited at the airlock. I am Director Zivexal. You will follow me. No handshake, no pleasantries. Maya had been warned about Lakshian directness, but the dismissive tone still stung. She followed Zivexal through crowded corridors where beings of countless species moved with purpose, most not even glancing at the human in their midst. Your quarters are in Section 12, Level 8. Zivexal didn't slow his pace or look back. The engineering lab begins work at 600 station time. Do not be late. I understand I'll be working on the new Starseeker prototype, Maya ventured, trying to establish some professional rapport. Zivexal stopped abruptly, all 4 eyes blinking in what Maya interpreted as surprise. You will be assigned appropriate tasks befitting your experience level. The Starseeker project requires advanced knowledge of principles your species has barely begun to grasp. Before Maya could respond, a group of engineers approached, a mix of species she recognized from her orientation materials: 2 Lakshians, a tentacled Morrigan, and a crystalline Paxthi. Director, one of the Lakshians acknowledged, then noticed Maya. Ah, the human has arrived. How quaint. Engineer Rethval, this is Engineer Chen, Zivexal introduced with obvious reluctance. I've read your paper on quantum flow dynamics, Maya said, extending her hand to Rethval, who stared at it with confusion. It was the foundation for my work on direct energy conversion. Rethval's upper eyes narrowed. You've read my work and understood it. Engineer Chen believed she has improvements to suggest for the Starseeker propulsion system, Zivexal said, causing ripples of amusement among the gathered engineers. Does she now? The Morrigan's tentacles rippled in what Maya recognized as their equivalent of laughter. Perhaps she'll suggest we use fossil fuels. I understand humans burned hydrocarbons for transportation until quite recently. Or perhaps wind power. Another added. Sails to catch the solar winds. Maya felt her face flush, but kept her expression neutral. Actually, I've developed a new approach to quantum manifold integration that could increase efficiency by at least 32% while reducing mass by nearly half. The laughter stopped abruptly. Impossible, Rethval stated flatly. The quantum manifold design was perfected by the Lakshian Science Academy 3 centuries ago. Perfected, or just not questioned since? Maya asked. Director Zivexal cut off the conversation. Engineer Chen will begin with basic systems monitoring. She can observe how real interstellar propulsion systems function. He turned to Maya. Report to Lab 7 tomorrow. Engineer Miralon will show you your duties. The next morning, Maya reported to Lab 7, where she met Miralon, a junior Paxthi engineer whose crystalline form shimmered with subdued blues and greens. You're at this station. Miralon indicated a small terminal in the corner. Monitor the cooling systems for bays 3 through 8. Log any fluctuations. Maya stared at the terminal. This is a task for an automated system or a first-year apprentice. Director Zivexal believes this is appropriate for your skills. Miralon replied, though Maya detected a note of discomfort in the Paxthi's harmonic voice. I'm a propulsion specialist with multiple patents and published theories. Theories the director finds conceptually flawed. Marilyn's colors shifted slightly. Most species spend centuries mastering basic principles before attempting to innovate. Humans have been spacefaring for less than 200 years. Maya took a deep breath. Show me the cooling system. For 2 weeks, Maya performed her menial monitoring tasks with precision while observing the real work happening around her. The Starseeker prototype was impressive. A sleek exploration vessel designed to push the boundaries of known space. But the more Maya studied it, the more she became convinced of fundamental inefficiencies in its design. The Confederation approach to engineering was accretive, building upon layers of existing technology, adding complexity to solve new problems rather than reimagining fundamental systems. It was elegant in its way, but hopelessly inefficient. One evening, while most of the station slept, Maya accessed the public terminal in the commons area and began reviewing the Starseeker's schematics. The propulsion system was a marvel of engineering, but it was also needlessly complex, like using 1,000 small engines when one properly designed system would work better. You see it too, don't you? Maya startled at the voice. A small green-skinned Vexi with large multifaceted eyes had approached silently. I'm Tekka, the alien said. Junior materials engineer. I've seen you studying the designs after hours. Maya Chen. She hesitated, then decided honesty was worth the risk. And yes, I see inefficiencies everywhere. The quantum manifold alone is operating at barely 70% theoretical capacity because of all the redundant systems. Tekka's faceted eyes glittered. The Confederation values tradition and proven methods. Innovation comes slowly here, but why maintain inefficient systems when better options exist? Because it's safer to add than to reimagine, Tekka said simply. Most of these species have been spacefaring for millennia. They've forgotten how to solve problems with limited resources. The Vexae studied Maya with interest. We Vexae were the last species admitted before humans. I understand your frustration. They won't even let me near the actual work, Maya said. Perhaps you need to show rather than tell. Tekka lowered his voice. There's an unused fabrication bay in Section 5, officially decommissioned for upgrades, but those upgrades have been delayed for months. No one would notice if someone were using the equipment during off hours. Maya's pulse quickened. Are you suggesting? I'm suggesting nothing, Tekka interrupted, merely sharing station information with a colleague. He tapped a few commands on the terminal, transferring a station schematic to Maya's personal device. Be careful, human engineer. The Confederation values protocol above all else. With Tekka's tacit assistance, Maya began spending her off hours in the abandoned fabrication bay. She started small, building component prototypes to test her theories. Her approach was fundamentally different from Confederation design philosophy. Instead of adding layers of complexity and redundancy, she focused on elegant simplicity, drawing inspiration from Earth's history of innovation under resource constraints. Where Confederation ships used 7 different systems working in concert, Maya designed single systems that adapted to multiple needs. Where they relied on massive power generation inefficiently distributed, she created dynamic routing that delivered power precisely where and when it was needed. 3 months into her assignment, Maya had progressed from theoretical components to a working prototype, a small one-person craft she named Pathfinder. Unlike the gleaming, perfectly manufactured Confederation vessels, Pathfinder looked almost crude, assembled from whatever materials Maya could acquire without raising suspicion. But inside that rough exterior lay revolution. After another day of being ignored in Lab 7, Maya returned to her secret project. As she entered the fabrication bay, she found Tekka waiting, his expression urgent. They know someone's been using this facility, he warned. Security did a sweep today. I managed to redirect them, but they'll be back. Maya looked at her unfinished prototype. I need more time. You don't have it, Tekka said. Rethval has been appointed lead engineer on the Starseeker. He's implementing complete security protocols across all engineering sections. Maya's heart sank. I'm so close, Tekka. The quantum integration circuit is working at 94% efficiency. That's nearly 25% better than anything they have. Tekka's faceted eyes studied the prototype. Perhaps it's time to go public. Show them what you've built. They'll never accept it, not coming from a human. Then make them unable to ignore it. Tekka's mandibles clicked with what Maya had learned was anticipation. The Starseeker is scheduled for its first system test tomorrow. Every senior engineer will be watching. Maya looked at her unfinished ship, then back at Tekka. A plan began forming in her mind. I'll need your help for one more night. The revolution. The observation deck overlooking Test Bay Alpha was crowded with Nexus Station's engineering elite. Below, the Starseeker prototype gleamed under the bright lights, its sleek hull representing the pinnacle of Confederation technology. Director Zivixel stood at the viewport, flanked by Rethful and other senior engineers. Begin pre-ignition sequence, Zivixel ordered. Technicians moved around the ship, making final adjustments. On a small monitoring station in the corner, Maya performed her assigned task, recording temperature fluctuations in the cooling systems. No one had bothered to invite her to the observation deck. Quantum manifold at standby, announced a voice over the comm. Power systems nominal. The anticipation in the room was palpable. The Starseeker represented years of development and a combined knowledge of a dozen species. Its revolutionary propulsion system promised to extend the Confederation's exploration range by a factor of 3. Initiating power flow to main systems, the test controller announced. Maya watched her monitoring screen, knowing exactly what would happen next. The massive energy demands of the Starseeker's inefficient design would create a surge through all systems, including cooling system pressure spike in sectors 3 and 4. Maya called out, loud enough for the room to hear. Wreathful turned, irritation clear in all 4 eyes. That's expected during power-up, human. Return to your monitoring. Not at these levels, Maya insisted, standing. The manifold containment could be compromised. Absurd, Rethfall dismissed. The containment systems have triple redundancy. But alarms were already blaring. On the screens, power fluctuations rippled through the Starseeker's systems. Emergency shutdown, Zivixel ordered. Full diagnostic. For the next hour, engineers scrambled to identify the problem while Maya watched silently from her station. She had predicted this exact failure in her notes weeks ago. The quantum manifold's inefficient design created cascading power demands that overwhelmed even redundant cooling systems. The manifold integration circuits can't handle the power flow sequence, one engineer finally reported. We'll need to redesign the entire power distribution network. That will take months, Zivixel said, mandibles clicking in agitation. Maya stood, drawing the room's attention. There's another solution. Return to your station, Engineer Chen, Zivixel ordered. I've developed an alternative approach to quantum manifold integration. Maya continued, ignoring the director. My prototype is complete and ready for testing. The room fell silent. Prototype. Rethval's voice was dangerously quiet. You've been building unauthorized technology. I've been developing a solution to exactly this problem, Maya corrected. One that doesn't require months of redesign. Director Zivixel's eyes narrowed. This is a serious breach of protocol, Engineer Chen. So file a complaint, Maya challenged. After you see my ship fly. The silence stretched uncomfortably until a new voice spoke up. I believe we should see this prototype. The engineers parted as Admiral Coleri entered the observation deck. As the military liaison to the Nexus project, the Admiral's authority superseded even Zivixel's. Admiral, Zivixel began, this human has violated numerous. I'm aware of the protocols, Director, the Admiral interrupted. I'm more interested in solutions than violations at this moment. She turned to Maya. Where is this prototype, Engineer Chen? 3 hours later, a small crowd gathered in the abandoned fabrication bay of Section 5. Maya stood beside the Pathfinder, acutely aware of its rough appearance compared to Confederation standards. Where their ships were sleek and uniform, hers was a patchwork of materials. Where theirs gleamed with perfect manufacturing precision, hers showed the marks of hand assembly. "This is your revolutionary design." Rethval couldn't contain his derision. "It looks like something assembled from garbage." "Judge it by its performance, not its appearance," Maya replied, opening the access panel to reveal the quantum integration circuit, the heart of her design. Admiral Coleri leaned in, studying the system with obvious expertise. "Fascinating. You've eliminated the traditional manifold structure entirely." "Traditional manifolds waste energy through multiple conversion stages," Maya explained. "My design creates a direct quantum relationship between power generation and application, adapting to demand in real time." "Theoretically impossible," Rethval scoffed. "The quantum relationships would collapse without the stabilizing influence of a conventional manifold." "That's what they said about heavier-than-air flight on Earth," Maya retorted, "until someone built a plane." She turned to the Admiral. "I'm prepared to demonstrate." "In that," Zivzel gestured dismissively at the small craft, "it's hardly large enough for proper testing." "Size is irrelevant to the principles involved," Admiral Coleri said. "Prepare your ship, Engineer Chen. We will observe from Test Bay Gamma." As Maya made final preparations to the Pathfinder, Tekka approached, his green skin pulsing with excitement. "You're actually going to do this," he said, helping her run pre-flight checks. "I have to," Maya replied, calibrating the navigation system. "It's the only way they'll take humans seriously." "They'll take you seriously," Tekka corrected. "But there's something you should know." He lowered his voice. "Rethval has been speaking with the technicians. I believe he may attempt to sabotage your demonstration." Maya's hand stilled on the controls. "How?" "I'm not certain, but be vigilant. The Laxians do not accept challenges to their technological supremacy gracefully." An hour later, Maya sat in Pathfinder's cockpit as the small craft was moved to Test Bay Gamma. Through the viewport, she could see the observation deck where Zivzel, Rethval, and Admiral Coleri watched alongside a growing crowd of curious engineers. "Engineer Chen, you may begin pre-flight procedures." The Admiral's voice came through the comm. Maya activated the power systems, watching as her innovative quantum integration circuit came to life. Unlike conventional Confederation ships with their lengthy startup sequences and multiple system checks, Pathfinder systems initialized almost instantly. "Power nominal," Maya reported. "All systems online." She ran a final diagnostic and frowned. Something was wrong with the navigation coupling, a small but critical component that synchronized the navigation system with the propulsion controls. The readings showed microscopic fractures that hadn't been there during her earlier checks. Sabotage, just as Tekka had warned. Maya had seconds to decide. Abort the test and lose her chance, or proceed with a compromised system. She thought of Earth's early test pilots, who had risked everything to push the boundaries of flight. "Requesting launch clearance," she said firmly. "Clearance granted," came the reply. "Proceed with standard test pattern." The bay doors opened to reveal the star-filled void. Maya guided Pathfinder out of the station, feeling the slight vibration from the damaged coupling. She would need to adjust her demonstration. "Beginning acceleration test," she announced, then push the throttle forward. Pathfinder leaped forward with startling speed, far exceeding the acceleration curves of any Confederation vessel. On the comm, Maya heard exclamations of surprise from the observation deck. "Power efficiency at 93.7%, Maya reported, checking her instruments. "No energy loss to heat or radiation." She put the ship through a series of maneuvers, each more complex than the last. Despite the damaged coupling, Pathfinder responded with precision that would have been impossible with conventional designs. "Preparing for maximum velocity test," Maya announced, though she hadn't planned this with the damaged system. "Engineer Chen." Admiral Coleri's voice came through. "Your navigation coupling shows stress fractures. Abort the velocity test." So they had detected it. Maya wasn't surprised. Nexus Station sensors were the best in the Confederation. Acknowledge, she replied, returning to station. As she turned back toward Nexus, a new alarm blared. The damaged coupling had finally failed completely, sending cascading errors through the navigation system. In a conventional ship, this would have been catastrophic, but Pathfinder wasn't conventional. Maya quickly rerouted power through her adaptive circuit, bypassing the navigation system entirely and taking manual control. The ship responded instantly, stabilizing despite the failure. Navigation coupling has failed, she reported calmly, switching to manual control with direct quantum guidance. Impossible, she heard Rethval exclaim on the open channel. No ship can maintain stability without navigation coupling to the propulsion system. But Pathfinder was doing exactly that. Maya guided the ship back to the test bay with greater precision than automated systems could have managed, setting down gently on the deck. When she emerged from the cockpit, Admiral Coleri was waiting, along with a crowd of engineers whose expressions ranged from disbelief to reluctant admiration. "Explain," the Admiral demanded, gesturing to a technician who was already examining the failed coupling. "My design doesn't rely on conventional system hierarchies," Maya explained. "Each component can communicate directly with the quantum integration circuit, allowing for instant adaptation to failures." The coupling was deliberately damaged, the technician reported, confirming Maya's suspicion. Microfractures consistent with targeted sonic disruption. All eyes turned to Rethval, whose 4 eyes blinked rapidly in what Maya now recognized as Lakshian nervousness. "I will investigate this security breach immediately," Zivsal declared, though his gaze lingered on Rethval. "That won't be necessary," Admiral Coleri said. "What matters is that Engineer Chen's prototype not only performed as claimed, but demonstrated unprecedented adaptability to system failure." She turned to Maya. "The Confederation fleet has been searching for exactly these capabilities for our new exploration initiative." "Admiral," Rethval protested, "this human technology is untested, unproven." "It was just tested," the Admiral cut him off. "And it outperformed your Starseeker in every measurable metric." She turned back to Maya. "Engineer Chen, I'm reassigning you to lead a new joint development team. Your quantum integration principles will be incorporated into the Starseeker project immediately." The Vindication. 2 months later, Maya stood on the main observation deck of Nexus Station, watching as the redesigned Starseeker underwent its final pre-launch checks. The ship retained its elegant Confederation aesthetics, but inside beat a heart designed with human ingenuity, a quantum integration system that represented the best of both approaches. "Your design principles have revolutionized our understanding of quantum relationships," Admiral Coleri said, joining Maya at the viewport. "The new Starseeker is 40% more efficient than our original projections." "It was a team effort," Maya replied diplomatically, though she couldn't help feeling pride in how far they'd come. After the dramatic demonstration of Pathfinder's capabilities, attitudes had shifted rapidly. Rethval had been reassigned to a research outpost in the outer systems, his sabotage attempt quietly handled within Confederation protocols. Director Zivksal had initially resisted the changes, but eventually became one of Maya's strongest advocates once he saw the results of her innovations. Engineer Chen. Tekka approached, his green skin pulsing with the bright colors of excitement. As Maya's first ally on the station, he had been appointed as her deputy on the new project. "Final systems check complete. The Starseeker is ready for launch." The redesigned starship represented more than just technological advancement. It symbolized a new approach to Confederation engineering, one that balanced the proven reliability of ancient techniques with the innovative spirit humans brought to the galaxy. "Begin launch sequence," Admiral Coleri ordered. As activity increased on the deck, Maya's attention was drawn to a flashing alert on the monitoring station. "Energy fluctuation in the outer sensor array," she noted, moving to the console for a closer look. "Standard variance," one of the Lakshian engineers dismissed, "within acceptable parameters." But Maya had learned to trust her instincts. This pattern isn't standard. She expanded the data display, revealing subtle anomalies in the energy signatures. These look like. The station shuddered violently, throwing several engineers to the floor. Alarm klaxons blared as emergency lights bathed the deck in pulsing red. "Report," Admiral Colery demanded, regaining her footing. "Unidentified vessels emerging from subspace," a tactical officer announced. "Confederation transponders, but wrong frequencies." Maya felt a chill. Raiders. The Confederation had been dealing with increasing pirate activity in recent months. Renegades using stolen or modified ships to attack outposts and research stations. Most raids were brief hit-and-run affairs targeting supplies or technology. But an attack on Nexus Station would be unprecedented in its boldness. "Confirmed," the tactical officer reported grimly. 7 raider vessels. They've targeted our primary power systems and communications array. Another impact rocked the station. Shields at 63% and falling. Someone called out. "They're using Confederation frequencies to bypass our defensive algorithms." Admiral Colery turned to Maya. "How long until the Starseeker can launch?" 10 minutes for standard launch protocol. Maya calculated quickly. "But we could emergency launch in 3 if we bypass safety interlocks." "Do it," the Admiral ordered. Nexus Station's defensive capabilities were designed for deterrence, not sustained combat. "We need that ship mobile." Maya rushed to the launch control station, Tekka at her side. Initiating emergency startup sequence, she called out, her fingers flying over the controls. "The quantum integration circuit isn't fully calibrated," Tekka warned. "Power flow could be unstable." "It'll hold," Maya assured him, though she was less certain than she sounded. The redesigned Starseeker incorporated her principles, but scaled up to a level they hadn't fully tested in combat conditions. The station shuddered again. "Shields at 41%, came the update. "Raiders are concentrating fire on the main reactor containment section." Maya's blood ran cold. If they breached the station's reactor, the resulting explosion would destroy everything within 500,000 kilometers. "Starseeker power systems online," she reported. "Navigation active. Weapons systems initializing." "Not fast enough," Admiral Colery said grimly. "They'll breach our shields before the Starseeker can engage." Maya studied the tactical display, watching the raider vessels circle Nexus Station like predators. Their attack pattern was deliberate. They were herding the station personnel toward the emergency evacuation routes while systematically disabling defenses. An idea formed in her mind. "The Pathfinder," she said suddenly. "It's still in Bay 5. I can launch immediately and buy time for the Starseeker." Admiral Colery frowned. "One small prototype against 7 combat vessels. They won't be expecting it," Maya argued. "And Pathfinder has advantages they can't anticipate." After a moment's hesitation, the Admiral nodded. "Go." Maya raced through the corridors toward Bay 5, dodging crews rushing to emergency stations. The station shook continuously now as the raiders pressed their attack. Pathfinder sat where she had left it, the small craft looking even more unimpressive compared to the massive Starseeker. But Maya knew its capabilities better than anyone. She conducted the fastest pre-flight check in history, then strapped herself in. Pathfinder to control. Ready for emergency launch. "Acknowledged, Pathfinder," came the reply. "Bay doors opening. Be advised, raiders have established a blockade formation around the station's primary launch bays." Understood. Maya activated the quantum integration circuit, feeling the familiar hum as power flowed instantly through the ship's systems. "Launching now." Pathfinder shot from the bay like a bullet, its unconventional design allowing for acceleration rates that would have crushed the occupants of a standard vessel. Maya pushed the ship to its limits, climbing away from the station at a vector no conventional ship could have achieved. The raider vessels didn't react immediately. Their attention focused on the station and the more obvious threat of the Starseeker preparing to launch. By the time they detected Pathfinder, Maya was already executing a high-energy turn that brought her directly behind the nearest raider. Pathfinder to Nexus Control, Maya transmitted, engaging diversionary tactics. She hadn't designed Pathfinder with weapon systems, but she didn't need them. The small ship's maneuverability and speed were weapons enough. Maya skimmed past the first raider vessel so close that her energy wake disrupted their sensor grid, momentarily blinding them. Raider vessels breaking formation, Control reported. 3 ships diverting to pursue Pathfinder. Exactly as Maya had hoped, she pushed Pathfinder into a series of maneuvers that no pursuit craft could match, leading the raiders away from the station while giving the Starseeker time to launch. Starseeker main engines online, came Tekka's voice over the comm. Launching in 30 seconds. Maya glanced at her tactical display. The 3 raiders pursuing her were falling behind, unable to match Pathfinder's agility. But the remaining 4 were still hammering the station's defenses. Shields critical at 17%. Control announced. Evacuating non-essential personnel. Maya made a split-second decision. Instead of continuing to lead her pursuers away, she cut power and executed a stomach-churning reverse that brought her face-to-face with the pursuing raiders. Before they could react, she accelerated directly toward them, her smaller ship threading the needle between 2 larger vessels. The maneuver confused the raiders' targeting systems, causing them to momentarily cease fire as they recalibrated. In that precious interval, the Starseeker launched, its massive form rising from the station with unprecedented speed thanks to Maya's redesigned systems. Starseeker away, Tekka reported. Weapons systems active. The raiders recognized the new threat immediately, breaking off their attack on the station to focus on the Starseeker. But they had made a critical error in their calculations. They were facing a ship unlike any the Confederation had deployed before. The Starseeker executed a combat turn that should have been impossible for a vessel its size, bringing all weapons to bear on the nearest raider. The quantum-enhanced targeting systems locked on instantly, and concentrated energy beams lashed out, cutting through the raider's shields with surgical precision. Raider 1 disabled, came the report. Starseeker engaging Raider 2. Maya used the distraction to dive Pathfinder toward the remaining raiders, executing a series of high-speed passes that confused their targeting systems. She wasn't doing significant damage, but she was preventing them from coordinating their attack on the Starseeker. Maya, break off. Tekka's urgent voice came through the comm. Your power readings are spiking. The quantum circuit is overheating. Maya checked her instruments and saw he was right. Pathfinder had never been designed for sustained combat maneuvers, and the quantum integration circuit was approaching critical limits. But she couldn't withdraw. Not yet. The Starseeker had disabled a second raider, but was now caught between the remaining 5. Its shields were holding, but the raiders were adapting their attack pattern. Pathfinder to Starseeker, Maya transmitted. I'm reading vulnerabilities in Raider 3's aft section. Their shield harmonics are fluctuating. Confirmed, came the reply. Targeting solutions adjusted. The Starseeker fired again, its beams perfectly calibrated to exploit the weakness Maya had identified. The Raider vessel's engines exploded in a brilliant flash, sending it tumbling away from the battle. Warning, quantum circuit reaching critical temperature, Pathfinder's systems announced. Maya could feel the heat building in the cockpit as the overtaxed system struggled to maintain stability. One more pass, she decided. One more distraction to give the Starseeker its chance. Pathfinder executing final run, she announced, then pushed the ship into a spiraling approach that took her through the heart of the Raider formation. Proximity alarms screamed as she skimmed past massive vessels with meters to spare, her ship's energy signature disrupting their systems at close range. The maneuver worked. The raiders broke formation, momentarily disoriented by the small ship's reckless approach. In that critical moment, the Starseeker unleashed its full weapons array, disabling 2 more raiders in rapid succession. Circuit failure imminent, Pathfinder's computer warned as smoke began to fill the cockpit. Maya's vision blurred from the heat and fumes, but she managed to direct the failing ship back toward Nexus Station. "Pathfinder to control," she gasped. "Lost propulsion control. Request emergency tractor beam." The last thing Maya saw before losing consciousness was the remaining raiders fleeing as Confederation reinforcements finally arrived. Late to the battle, but in time for the victory. Maya awoke in the medical bay of Nexus Station 3 days later. The first face she saw was Tekka's, his green skin pulsing with relief. "Welcome back," he said. "You gave us quite a scare." Maya tried to sit up and winced at the pain in her ribs. "The station. Damaged but intact, thanks to you." A new voice joined them as Admiral Coleri entered the medical bay. "The raiders were targeting our new quantum integration technology. Intelligence suggests they were hired by interests who don't appreciate the shifting balance of power your innovations represent." Maya managed a small smile. "And Pathfinder. Beyond repair, I'm afraid," Tekka said. "The quantum circuit finally melted down completely. But we've recovered the data core. Every moment of your battle maneuvers was recorded. Your improvised tactics have already been incorporated into our training programs," Admiral Coleri added. "The Confederation fleet has never seen combat maneuvering like what you demonstrated." Director Zivixel entered, his silver-blue skin shimmering with what Maya now recognized as Laxian respect. "Engineer Chen," he began formally. "The Confederation Engineering Council has reviewed the performance of both the Starseeker and your Pathfinder prototype. They have unanimously voted to establish a new division dedicated to what they are calling adaptive quantum integration. Human innovation combined with Confederation reliability." Maya blinked in surprise. "A new division? With you as its director?" Admiral Coleri confirmed. "Once you've recovered, of course." "It seems," Zivtel added with what might have been the Laxian equivalent of embarrassment, "that there is much we can learn from human approaches to engineering after all." 6 months later, Maya stood in the newly established Quantum Integration Laboratory, watching as engineers from a dozen species worked together on projects that would have been considered impossible before Pathfinder's flight. The wall of her office displayed a salvaged piece of Pathfinder's hull, a reminder of where it all began. "The first joint design vessel launches next week," Tekka reported, joining her at the viewport. "The Explorer class incorporates everything we've learned." Beyond the station, a new ship was taking shape, larger than Pathfinder, but incorporating all its revolutionary principles. It would be the first of a new fleet.